When we get together, Her Imperial Majesty, the Empress Anastasia, runs the me. She starts by letting us know all that she knows of abductions as well as other attacks from the so-called Goblin Realm. The reasons, what weapons that they may have, as well as the whys of this. Most of this is couched in legend about goblins stealing babies and the like. It seems as we as a people have gotten more technological, we have forgotten the fact that most legends are based on fact. I will use Troy and the Trojan War as an example. The Empress Anastasia tells us what she remembers of what weapons may be effective against them. It seems as silver and cold iron weapons are highly effective, as well as sunlight, which, if they only seem to come at night, will not help us. The Emperor Ivan Sigelfer, who commands our army, yeah, I know, the medieval army with old weapons of steel. And there are maybe 20 of us, not a large army. Someone asks about, maybe, someone driving one of the large pickup trucks that some of our people drive onto the field and just run the goblins over. It's pointed out to this person that it would be very difficult to drive a motor vehicle into the little stadium that Parks and Rec constructed. Between security, not to mention where on the jousting field it could enter without killing innocent people. It was a very good thought, though. Too bad we can't do it. The Emperor Ivan Sigelfer immediately sends to our sister group, across from us for help. Their ruler, Artenian, whom is a good friend of ours, comes to visit at the Emperor's behest. And we then inform him of what we believe is going to happen at the jousting field tomorrow night. At first he thinks that we are joking, or maybe a little crazy. After the explanations, he agrees to help. He feels the worst that can happen is that we look silly, too bad if he's wrong. He says he will bring at least 15 armed warriors to reinforce our 20, because we decided we were going to show up at the evening joust in full armor with sharpened steel weapons. It seems to have been decided that we would actively oppose the goblins if they show up. Eventually, we will have to let our populace in on this decision. Hopefully, most will agree to help. We also can field, maybe, 10 archers, for whom we have to find hunting arrows for. A collection will be taken up to go to the various sporting goods stores to buy them. Hopefully, we can get enough. I suggest we also contact our friends from other groups to boost our numbers, maybe get another 15 to 20 more fighters in armor. If we are wrong, I point out, we will just look silly to them. If we are correct, we may save many lives, including our own. A suggestion comes up that we let the authorities in on what that we know. I answer this question for the Emperor, who is smirking at this question. Who will believe us? They will just think that we are all crazy, and that such a thing is not possible. If we insist, they would lock us all up in a mental institution, and in reality, who can blame them? It can't be real at all, and it sounds crazy, at the very least, if we, as a group, with our limited knowledge, do not stand and fight. Lots of totally innocent people will die. Our choices are 3. Do nothing, and if true, die, run away and live for another day, or fight like crazy and defend our fellow man, whether that they realize we are helping them or not. Not great choices, are they? There it is though. Simple truth. In kind of compromise, the Emperor also decides that we should tell the fair people and the police of a possible threat that we heard of from a so-called outlaw motorcycle group called the Goblins, who may come by and cause trouble at the joust on Saturday night, just to make authorities aware that something may be up. It's the best we can come up with. Being our connections in the motorcycle world are well known in the Ren Fair, the authorities may pay some heed to our dire warnings of imminent danger. We, after all, could not tell them the truth. They'd think that we were crazy, and who could have blamed them? Maybe we are. Gods, I hope we are wrong. I just don't think so. I really believe that this is going to turn out bad. Very bad. Preparations and intrepidations. Needless to say, this makes for a very long night, at least for me if not others. I end up sitting up with the gate guard, being I could not sleep. In actuality, I was keeping the gate guard company until I was tired enough to try to go to sleep. Needless to say, I have a lot on my mind. Many reservations about my abilities at this time in my life. The Emperor and Empress had gone out and about. After all, they do have obligations to visit other encampments, as well as to attempt to have some fun. When they come back, they see me at the gate, and the Emperor is concerned, as well as curious as to why I was still awake. Being that away from Renfair, we have been friends for 20 years or more. He asked me to join him by the campfire that we have going to find out why I'm still awake. Without all the trappings of office, my friend Sigelfer asks me what's up. Why am I still awake? I answer him that I am more than a little nervous about tomorrow night. After all, for the first time in 45 years, I am going to be in a real no-shit to the death type of fight. Sigelfer, tell me, relax old friend, you have been in battle many times before. And I still remember when you stood up to those two big guys from the Mongols, M.C. I answer him, I know, but I was younger, as well as being in much better shape at that time. Cancer has taken a major toll on my body, sapping much of my strength. I'm afraid I may not be up to real combat, especially facing what we are going to face tomorrow night. I'm sorry, old friend, I may not be able to hold up my end as I have in the past. Sigelfer then tells me very quietly, Baitai, I have total faith in you. You have had my back these last 20 years, as well as in many past lives. What he is referencing is our past lives. In one of those, on some ancient battlefield, he was a war chief or general commanding an army. I was the head of his personal bodyguard. He was old then. I was the young idealistic warrior that believed in the rightness of what I was doing to protect him. Hence, a little of our back history. There is actually much more. I answer him, smiling, yes, you and me, we have been around the block a few times, haven't we? A lot more than once in fact. Sigelfer answers me, yes we have. You may not be as young or in the kind of shape that you used to be, but you are much more wise, not quite as hot-headed, and you now take a much deeper strategic view. That most of us do not. And I still like the idea that you have my back. I answer him, in this life and probably into the next. Thank you, my friend. You'll be able to go to sleep now. I laugh and say to him, good night, my friend. I feel much better now. Tomorrow, you will truly give my very best effort. Thank you. Please give your lady a hug for me. Sigelfer then says, good night, Earl Sir Baitai. Sleep well. I answer him, do not worry, I will. We go off to our tents for rest. I really do feel better about how I will perform tomorrow and go to sleep. Still a little restless, but sleep I do. Amazing what a kind word from a friend can do for you for your attitude, isn't it? I wake up in the morning like a man possessed, go and get my morning coffee, eat breakfast, and go to helping people get ready. I honestly do feel like a new man, almost like I've been reborn. Amazing how good that you feel when a close friend has so much faith in you. When you are full of self-doubt, as well as maybe a little self-loathing. Not anymore, though. Now I'm mentally prepared for what I may go through tonight. I already know that I will have to fight smart to survive what may be my last battle. In the morning, I accompany the Emperor to the morning meeting that is called Morning Notes that we have with the Parks and Rec Department. They fill us in on attendance figures as well as who, if anyone, has misbehaved the day before. After the general meeting is over, the Emperor and I meet privately with those nice folks from Parks and Rec to warn them about the so-called Goblin MC group coming in to cause trouble at the joust. They ask us to speak to the police about it. So we do. The police captain that we speak to tells us that he will assign a few extra men to the detail at the jousting field for that evening. We thank them for listening to us then, and we go back to our camp. Once we get back, we have an early meeting to explain all that is going on that we know of. Also, we ask our group for donations for the hunting arrows in case we need them. Hopefully we won't. Whoever donates, their name and the amount of the donation is written down. In the event that nothing happens, and we can then return the money to those who donated. Understanding the severity of the cause, we quickly raise $800. I fish $60 out of my pocket for this. We then send out 2 of our people to shop for these arrows, having a dire need for them. We also select 6 archers who will take care of the arrows. They each have a bow and a quiver to hold the arrows. We also let the populace know that the whole encampment will be going to the evening joust. All fighters must be in armor and carry their real swords. All who own real swords must sharpen them and bring them. We assume that our sister group is making the same preparations. We send a messenger to them to double check. They are doing the same as us in that regard. We are very fortunate. They seem to believe us. On our own, we may not have enough fighters to give more than token resistance to the goblins. We can be overwhelmed by numbers and power. More people may offset that. Before the opening of fair, I go over to one of the other groups that I was part of many years ago to give them a heads up as far as what we believe was about to happen. At first they think that I'm joking, but they see me carrying live steel, which is something that I never do, especially when visiting friends. They also look in my eyes, and I suggest that they visit Emperor Ivan Sigalfer at our encampment to check the veracity of what that I have just told them. Basically, they think I'm nuts. I don't blame them. Maybe I am. Their Duke, Sir Vladimir, comes over to visit the Emperor to find out the truth of my request. They are very surprised at 9:30 in the morning to find our whole camp on what could be considered a for real war footing. Armor is being prepared, gaps tightened up, weapons getting sharpened, for real, as well as the king of our sister group being in consultations with the Emperor. The Duke comes in and meets with the Emperor and finds out that we are indeed treating this as a very real thing that is going to happen. Also, that we truly hope that we are wrong and will just look silly in front of our friends. Duke Sir Vladimir is now aware that we believe it, and that this is real, and he will prepare his people to be guarded by us at the jousting field, and is adding at least 10 fighters to our little army. He then goes back to prepare his people for what will happen in the evening. Vlad does know how to think, and he does not panic. I guess now he believes my story, just a bit, maybe. We always take part in a battle called Blood of Heroes around 3 p.m., which we cannot put off. We also get a hold of our opponents for this event to let them in on what we believe will be happening. They initially think we are nuts, till that they talk to the Emperor and Empress. They agree not to go all out for this battle and then join us on the jousting field for the nighttime joust. This will give us an extra 15 fighters in armor with swords, and all of us fairly expert at what we do. Numbers will be important. So altogether, we now have about 60 fighters, maybe even a few more, who are pledged to help us, who will be ready for battle, as well as 6 archers with hopefully at least 10 arrows in each quiver. If the goblins come in large numbers, we may stand a chance of surviving what's to come for at least a short time. If not, we will go down fighting, protecting those that we love. At 10 a.m. Saturday morning, the cannon goes off, signifying the opening of the Ren Fair to the public for the day. Most of us continue our preparations while the rest of us get ready to play our parts in the encampment, meeting and greeting the public, as well as putting on a show in our combat Eric. The public comes and goes, and we do what we must to give the appearance of putting on a show. Fortunately, the showmen in the group take over, buying us even more prep time. All goes well as we await the return of our people that we sent out to buy arrows. If the goblins come through in large numbers, the archers can hopefully be an equalizer in the upcoming battle. We have no way of knowing how many of the goblins that there will be. It could be hundreds, if not more. The people we sent out finally return, but with only 60 or 70 arrows with broad heads for hunting. We immediately assemble the arrows and place them in the bowmen's quivers. It's the best that we can do at the moment. Our archers, for the most part, also carry steel swords, as well as half of them being in full armor. After they are out of arrows, they can join us in the fight. Hopefully, it won't be necessary, but I think though, we will need every sword we can get, putting on a show. The fair continues as it always does, people going around to the various camps, oohing and ahhing at all that they see. We do put on a good show, in spite of what we are preparing for. We fight mainly Shinai and our Eric, but still put on a good show for the crowd. They come to our court to visit our various royalty, and really show them a good time. Greeting the children is especially fun. Some of them are so shy, it's almost funny, but in a way, it is also a reminder of what we will be fighting for. Some of them are just so cute. Our own children, those associated with our group that is, do a wonderful job of entertaining the fair goers. We really have some special children in our group. They are so much fun to be around. About 3 p.m., we start getting ready for Blood of Heroes, which is a get the skull ball in the neck kind of game. Our people who are going to take part start to armor up to take part in this event. It is fought by teams of 7 to 8 people in armor, using rattan weapons. Most years, it's almost an all-out friendly brawl, with both sides going the extra mile to try to win. This year is different because of what we expect tonight. We do not wish to tire out our fighters to make sure that they have energy. For tonight, where the fighting, if it takes place, will be very real. Now, Blood of Heroes is a game with simple rules. The only ones allowed touch, carry, and to put the skull in the goal is called the quick. He carries one sword. The other players carry sword and shield, 2 sword, or glaive, which is an 8-foot-long chopping and stabbing weapon. The game starts with the 2 quicks in the center of the field, fighting for control of the skull. All deaths last 10 seconds as long as they are not being held down by someone with a sword or glaive. It's a combination of football and our form of medieval fighting. Under ordinary circumstances, it is a lot of fun to play. These are definitely not ordinary circumstances. Not by any means or form. About 3:45 we head to the jousting field to meet up with our opponents and discuss the rules that we will play by. Our usual rules would tire us all out way too much if we have to fight for our lives, and we just may. We decide to only throw light blows, and to cut down the running to some degree, being we think it important that we do not tire our people out. Also, we will rotate out all fighters after each battle. This means that neither side will always have their best fighters on the field, but we will be better rested for tonight's activities, if needed. Bragging rights be damned. Life is much more important than bragging rights in this game. Fortunately, all agree with this. All are aware of what we are expecting. Gods, I hope I'm wrong, but somehow, I just don't think so. The crowd starts filling in the arena, and all fighters inspect the field, looking for divots and other places we may trip up. The announcer starts by doing his thing, introducing the 2 sides. All take bows, and the announcer explains the rules of the game to our audience. Those of us in armor prepare ourselves to play the game. Armor and weapons are checked for safety, and the marshals then take the field. They are the referees for the game. They inspect the field as well as the players. Their main job is helping keep everyone safe as well as keeping things under control. They are very good at this. The head marshal is our empress. If I'm not fighting, I usually end up marshalling. It's my way of giving back to the game that we play, being I was one of the original players many years ago. The two quicks take to the center of the field to face off against each other, while both teams line up on their goal lines. Those on the goal lines are not allowed to advance till a quick has physically touched the skull with his free hand, which is a simulated dog's skull, as in the movie Blood of Heroes, starring Rutger Hauer. At the lay-on, the quicks battle for the skull. The winner of the initial encounter tries to move the skull into their opponent's goal. This physically can be a very rough game, but because of the new negotiated rules, it is not quite as physical, being we are trying to take it easy. It's still rough, just not quite as tiring on the bodies of those that are playing. After all, we may need these folks later at their truly peak fighting ability, though I sincerely hope not, but I believe we will. Play goes on for a good 45 minutes, and is finally declared a draw. The crowd loves the fighting and the physicality of the game, though they are a little disappointed that no winner is declared. Something we decided before the game to keep the level of physical exertion down. It was still entertaining for the crowd. They loved it. We then all meet behind the stands, and our Emperor invites our so-called opponents, as well as all of our allies, to our camp for further discussion about what we are expecting tonight. Grabbing all of our gear, we all head back to our camp, where refreshments are waiting for all the fighters. We also invite our other allies over as well for a so-called quick consultation. About an hour's worth of quick consultation, but before that, all armor is removed from our bodies and weapons are put away for the moment. This way we could cool off. Wearing 40 to 60 pounds of armor can make one rather warm, as well as tire out our bodies.